Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to dive into the cinematic marvel that is Madame Webb. A film so extraordinary, it redefines the meaning of unforgettable, and not in the way you'd hope. A film that's sure to have you glued to your seat out of sheer disbelief. So, prepare yourself for a roller coaster ride of confusion, because that's what Madame Webb is all about. You know, a movie is in big trouble when Sony brings back the writing team of Morbius to write the script for it. This is the only movie I can think of where the bad guy is killed by a literal product placement. First, let's give you an idea of what this movie is about. The story revolves around Cassandra Webb, also known as Cassie, played by Dakota Johnson. Cassie is a paramedic in Manhattan who develops the power to see the future after an accident. She is forced to confront revelations about her past while trying to save 3 young women and their futures from Ezekiel Sims, played by Tahar Rahim. But something you should note is that the main hero and villain of this movie is neither of them. It's actually Pepsi. I'll explain in a bit. The plot begins in 1973, when a research team led by Ezekiel Sims and his pregnant partner Constance Webb discover an unidentified species of spider in the jungles of Peru with rare healing properties. Ezekiel betrays the team and claims the spider for himself before leaving Constance for dead. An indigenous tribe attempts to save Constance, but she dies shortly after giving birth to a girl whom she names Cassandra. As the plot unfolds, Cassie attempts to save the 3 girls because she sees the future of Ezekiel succeeding in killing all 3 of them. During the final battle, Cassie is ultimately the one who ends Ezekiel's life, putting an end to his hunt. As Cassie defeats Ezekiel, she is crushed and loses her eyesight and the ability to walk. This was a likely outcome of the film, making it a true origin story, as Madame Webb in the comics is blind and paralyzed, but can access a web of consciousness which allows her to help warn different spider people from danger. Let's talk about the storytelling and writing of this movie. Having seen Morbius, this is exactly the type of writing those writers would do. First, let me bring some of the, let's say, interesting plot decisions to your beautiful eyes. Cassandra's mother dies in the Peruvian jungle while researching spiders. Of course, that's the most logical place to go when you're pregnant. The main way that Cassie attacks Ezekiel is by driving into him. Once with a taxi and once with an ambulance. Then guess what kills Ezekiel? He gets taken out by a Pepsi sign. What a way to go. And Cassie gets hit by a random firework, I guess, which paralyzes her and blinds her. How on earth did that even happen? I mean, isn't her power literally seeing into the future? I guess she can only see the future when the plot needs it. If you are enjoying this review, make sure to give it a thumbs up. The film's narrative structure is, to put it mildly, a bit of a mess. It jumps from one plot point to another with little to no explanation, leaving the audience to fill in the gaps themselves. The film seems to operate on a just go with it mentality, expecting the audience to accept the increasingly absurd plot twists without question. Character development is another area where the film falls short. Our protagonist, Cassandra Webb, is given a backstory and a set of powers, but little else. Her motivations are unclear, her personality is underdeveloped, and her character arc is virtually non-existent. The supporting characters are no better, serving more as plot devices than actual characters. The 3 girls are just there because of what they will become. Right now, they don't do anything. They are basically 3 girls running away from a spider terminator because of who they will become. If there's a theme to Madame Webb, it's not immediately apparent. The film seems more interested in setting up its convoluted plot and introducing its cast of underdeveloped characters than in exploring any deeper themes or ideas. The film's writing style can best be described as chaotic. The dialogue ranges from absurd exposition dumps to redundant recaps of events that have already happened. The film's attempts at humor often fall flat, and the overall tone is inconsistent. Now let's talk about the performances. To be fair, the actors do their best with what they're given. Dakota Johnson does her best at portraying this role. You can feel she is really trying. She brings the only source of joy in this movie. Some of her lines are out of place with the tone of the movie. In a good way, which I'm sure she added those herself because the tone that the writers have created for this movie is absolute garbage. After watching the movie, her interviews make a lot of sense. Then we have the supporting cast, who do their best with what they're given. which, to be fair, isn't much. The characters are so underdeveloped and one-dimensional that it's hard for the actors to really shine. Here's a question for you. If you could have any superpower from the Spider-Verse, what would it be and why? Drop your answers in the comments below and let's see who comes up with the most creative power. The cinematography and visuals of Madame Web. Where do I even start? It's like a masterclass in how not to do a superhero movie. Firstly, let's talk about the visual style. The director decided to go with crooked camera angles and intentionally jagged editing, because nothing says quality filmmaking like making your audience feel like they're on a roller coaster ride. It's as if the camera was handed to a toddler with a sugar rush. The visuals are so chaotic, it's like trying to follow a pinball game on fast forward. And then there's the CGI and special effects. They were, how do I put this delicately? Not quite up to par. It's like they were trying to recreate the magic of the early 2000s superhero movies, but instead of nostalgia, it just feels outdated. It's like watching a low-budget sci-fi movie from 2 decades ago. The visuals are refreshingly clean and grounded for a modern superhero film, which is a nice way of saying they're bland and uninteresting. It's like they took the concept of less is more and ran with it, off a cliff. The cinematography and visuals of Madame Web are a sight to behold, and by that I mean you'll probably want to shield your eyes. It's a masterclass in mediocrity, a spectacle of subpar special effects, and a testament to the power of poor planning. Truly, a visual feast for anyone who enjoys a good train wreck. In conclusion, Madame Web is, well, it's certainly a film. It's a wild ride through a world of spiders, futuristic technology, and questionable plot decisions. The script is a jumbled mess, and the cinematography is unique, to say the least. Is it worth watching? Well, if you enjoy being confused, frustrated, and left with more questions than answers, then this is the film for you. It's like a roller coaster ride, but instead of thrills and excitement, you get plot holes and underdeveloped characters. As for who this film is suited for, it's perfect for anyone who enjoys feeling like they've just wasted a couple of hours of their life. Fans of coherent storytelling and well-developed characters might want to give this one a miss. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you won't miss the next review.